What if I told you that corporate mismanagement cost a company nearly 90% of its total market capitalization, nearly $9 billion of investor capital? And then I told you that those same people that were managing that company and arguably largely responsible for the demise were then going to turn around and offer investors potentially pennies on the dollar to buy it out after their years of failures. Well, some might argue that that is exactly the story of what could be going on right now at Ubisoft. And our friends out there in the gaming space, guys like Grums and Endymion, other folks out there like Dread Roberts, Smash JT, and many more, have covered this extensively in the last few months that we've been picking up on now from the financial side. And this story struck me hard on Friday because this, regardless of what might actually be going on, well, sometimes perception could be reality. And when it comes to get woke, go broke, well, Ubisoft and their management might be one of the most absolutely exquisite examples of just that. Renegade Online. All right, I want to talk about this Ubisoft thing. This came up Friday. I was going to try to record a video on this Friday, so I'm going to try to run through this here in just a few minutes. But everybody pay attention because this is something else. Tencent and the Guillemot family are mulling a buyout of Assassin's Creed maker Ubisoft. Now, what's impressive about this is that, of course, we've talked about this before. The Guillemot family are the ones that own about 15% of Ubisoft. Tencent owns a portion, although I'm not 100% sure how much. But let's assume that they own another significant portion. Probably 8, 9, maybe 10%, maybe more. I've got to go. I try to do a little digging on it, but between the Guillemot family and Tencent, this is a significant portion of voting power at Ubisoft. And this whole issue of taking it to private equity would be something else if it went to the very people who are running it now. Boy, that would be something else. But before I get into that too much on my thoughts, I want to let's show people what's really. We've talked about Star Wars Outlaws, right? We've talked about the fact that Star Wars Outlaws was such a disaster that it only sold 1 million copies. It only sold 1 million copies out there in the first month. It's a dead duck. It's a totally dead duck. And some of the things recently here that have come up. And I'll show some of these. Let me get this window resized here so everybody can kind of see this. Talking about how DEI affects these gaming studios in the same negative fashion that they affect the entertainment industry. This is from Grums. He posted this just in the last couple of days. I think, actually, this was from today. I think he reposted it. This aged poorly. Ubisoft is nearly dead, says Grums. Again, this photo proves my point. Companies that go out of their way to have, quote, all women photos are just doing it for virtue points. Yes, I would probably agree 99% of the situations out there that where we see these in this type of context. Illegal hiring quotas don't make you a better studio. And he's talking about violating, the issue of, well, you can't hire based on gender. You can't hire based on ethnicity or race or skin color or so on and so forth. It just puts meritocracy as the last priority, as it becomes increasingly difficult to find the skin color, gender, sexual orientation you seek to slot into your company en masse. When you hire for superficial qualities rather than for excellence, you're going to have a bad time. Excellence can be found across the spectrum of diversity, but you can't force it. You can't make it happen and expect to take a sub 5% minority group, putting aside the women here, and expect to fill 50% of your positions with it effectively. And what Grums says here, he spits a lot of facts. He spits a lot of logic. And what he's talking about is this. From November 5th of 2015, Congratulations to Ubisoft for paving the way for game development studios to hire based on gender. That's an interesting and very illegal way to put it. The best decisions are always made with a diverse group of minds and not necessarily a talented or passionate one. This posted by Video Entertainment Analysis Group. I love this. 2007. 2014. Picture says 1,000 words. And again, it's like Grum said, it's not about them hiring women. But gamers tend to be guys. And other guys tend to know what other guys really want to see in a video game or a product that is primarily dominated by male consumers, male customers, male clients. Maybe something didn't work out. And to that end, there is a companion piece to this that was posted by Endymion before we get back to this article, because I think this is really important as well. And this is all of the, let me try to pull this up real quick, all of the different employee groups at Ubisoft. Here's 4 out of the 5 screenshots that I was sent by someone who works at Ubisoft. The groups they are forming currently inside the company are echo chambers amongst other echo chambers. It's getting ridiculous, he says. And like I said in the video, this is Endymion's video from this weekend. I watched it this morning as I was flying back to New Orleans. Absolutely great piece. Everybody should go watch it. And like I said in the video, they're hiring people who can't even properly speak either English or French as project managers. How does that even happen? Remember, Ubisoft is primarily a French-based company. They have studios outside of France, but the company is based in France. One of the other big studios they have is in Canada. It's either French or English. Project managers, according to sources speaking to Endymion, don't even really speak fluently in either language in some cases. But look at this. I want to pull this up. These are some of the employee groups that are being formed or have formed inside of Ubisoft. And remember, this is right now as a lot of these employees are threatening a strike because they don't want to go back to work in the office 3 days a week. That's too much. Women and non-binary at Ubisoft. This employee resource group is a collective of all of the women and gender minorities. Gender minorities. Okay. Women, gender. Never mind. Not even a comment on that one. Who work at Ubisoft across the globe. We work to provide a safe space to meet because I guess apparently with men, they're not safe. I guess, is that the implication we're making here? Connect and share freely about their experiences and thoughts to spread ideas. Okay. Voice concerns and suggestions to create change in guidelines, processes, politics at Ubisoft, at the company. We want to voice concerns and suggestions to create change in guidelines, processes, and politics. What the hell does a video game manufacturer need to do to get engaged in politics? Why would that be a part of this group? Why would that be a part of the company? Unless it's, we're going to get involved in politics because a regulatory issue might make it more difficult for us to make a video game. Okay. I don't think that's what they're going for here. Provide empowering tools to help women achieve their full professional potential within the gaming industry at Ubisoft. Okay, what does that mean? Inform and educate Ubisoft on women intersectional issues. Why? What does that have to do with you making a product? What does that have to do with you making a video game that is... Ubisoft is not in the business, if at all, to my knowledge, of making mobile video games, which are more female-dominated. Ubisoft is in the business of making AAA games, which is vastly male-dominated in terms of audience. Why would we want to have an employee group that is constantly petitioning, nagging management at Ubisoft to involve women's intersectional feminism? Why? Why is that a good idea for products that are geared primarily for guys? Inform representation of women and non-binary people in video games. Do you see where this is going? Oh, but wait, there's more. We ain't done yet, kids. Women and non-binary, they're in the Paris, in the France and Montreal. They're in multiple Ubisoft offices around the world. But wait, there's more. The mission of black employees at Ubisoft, black employees at Ubisoft, is to foster community, improve cultural awareness and competency, and champion the advancement of black employees at Ubisoft to create a more diverse and inclusive workplace. Our goals are building community, increase employee engagement by creating a safe space for black employees. Again, what is with all these safe spaces? Are black employees and female employees, why are they not safe around men or white people? Why? When did this start? I feel like I'm watching Amanda Stenberg tell me that she showed up with the Acolyte to make sure that Star Wars would be a safe place for black nerds. This seems to be a real problem for folks out there. I don't understand this. It apparently wasn't a problem 5-10 years ago. Now all of a sudden today it's a problem. I don't know. Improve cultural awareness and competency at Ubisoft through educational events, thought leadership, and editorial content guidelines and reviews. So you want to go in and change games that are working to make them more what? Politically satisfying to your narrow vision instead of the vision of what the audience really wants? That seems like a bad business model. Championing talent to enable Ubisoft to improve representation of black talents at all levels of the organization by consulting on recruitment, retention, and basically, let's call it promotion. Review editorial content. Provide guidelines on the use of blacks' characteristics in our games. Their phraseology, not mine. Provide guidelines on the use of blacks' characteristics in our games, films, marketing tools, and build cultural competency with game developers and marketing teams. And they go through it country by country, right? US, Canada, Europe. Neurodiversity. I've never heard this term before in my life. We have employee groups now for neurodiversity, LGBTQ, women, and black employees at Ubisoft. Neurodiversity. Apparently, this is autism spectrum disorder. So we're gonna have a special employees group for. Okay, here's the bottom line. If y'all haven't figured this out by now, let's make this really, really, really obvious. How do you function? How in the hell? And Demian does an absolute spot on job. I mean, he literally, when I'm listening to his video, and because I had seen the posts that he'd made on Twitter first before I watched the video, he was spitting out the same conclusions, the same logical conclusions, as if it was me doing it. He is dead on. Go watch Endemian's video. But my thoughts are the same as his, and they are this. There is no way in hell that a corporate environment can function correctly with this much division in the ranks. How the hell do you wind up as management? We have to hire somebody, a person, to fill this role. And you've got an employee group that you have empowered and allowed to take place, all these divisive, disparate groups. Do we hire a black person? Do we hire a gay person? Do we hire a woman? Do we hire somebody on the whatever the autism? How do you operate as management? You know what the answer is? You don't. You don't. This is a completely dysfunctional hellhole in this company. This is a train wreck. Employees at a company should all be working together, right? All of them. The most talented people you can find, regardless of who they sleep with, what they look like, where they come from. Hire the most talented people to do the job, regardless of any other immutable characteristic. And get the job done. Everybody should be working towards the same end. Everybody should be moving in the same direction. This is how properly functioning corporate environment works in a free market economy. Maybe that's not what's over there in France anymore. I don't know. I can't speculate. I don't live there. But that being said, this is obviously dysfunctional. This is completely dysfunctional. And it's becoming abundantly clear how and why Ubisoft has lost nearly $9 billion of value in the last 4 years. $9 billion of shareholder value because of crap like I just had up on the screen. This is a dysfunctional nightmare. This is how you wind up with things like, frankly, Assassin's Creed Shadows. This is how you wind up with stuff like Star Wars Outlaws. Because all these little disparate groups are trying to get their own politics, as they put it, politics into the games. They're not trying to make a product that's going to suit the audience. They already have an extensive decade-plus long track record of satisfying very much with previous iterations of Assassin's Creed and other games that Ubisoft has made. Now, the woke mind virus, the DEI poison that is such a cancer in corporate culture, especially here in America, but not exclusively to it, this is what broke the company. Watch this. The very people who have been largely in charge of Ubisoft, the Guillemot family, who Yves Guillemot is the executive chairman and CEO and has been for many, many years. 4 of his family members, in addition to himself, sit the board of directors at Ubisoft. It's a 14-member board. 5 of the members are of the Guillemot family. In other words, 5 members of the board, maybe more, but 5 members of the board at least have the last name of Guillemot. There may be other ones on there that are cousins or spouses or sisters or don't have the last name of Guillemot but are part of the Guillemot family. God knows. I haven't dug that deep. But the Guillemot family, who owns 15% of Ubisoft reportedly, and Tencent, who probably also holds a similar stake in Ubisoft, I would bet, they want to take the company private. This is the rumor right now. This is not officially announced. And again, I want to stipulate that because as I was one of the first people to break, I told you that Assassin's Creed was probably going to get delayed. Called Stuttering Craig that morning, 2 hours before news broke, and said, it's coming. They're going to delay this game because they're about to enter a quiet period. We're in that quiet period now. It began on the 30th of September, and it's going to run through October 30th when their next earnings call is. Tencent and the Guillemot family would be prohibited by law, penalty of law at the very least, for coming out and making such a public announcement. But this is a rumor that is now circulating. The very people who are inarguably, overwhelmingly responsible, if not by themselves, then by derelict management of an atrocious nature. I mean, just bordering on criminal negligence, perhaps. Who knows? I'm not a lawyer. I'm going for a little pizzazz here. But they have lost $9 billion of shareholder value in 4 years. So you're telling me now that their bad management has literally decimated the value of Ubisoft. They want to come in and sweep up and buy out the rest of it. Boy, is that convenient. Boy, is that convenient. They didn't want to buy it out and take it private 4 years ago when it was $10 billion. Now that they've wrecked the company, the guys that, again, have been in charge of the company this entire time, rumored that they might want to themselves take it private. Well, isn't that a deal? We had this toy that a lot of other people had some serious ownership equity in. And we broke the hell out of it. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to buy the parts for pennies on the dollar. Oh, isn't that lovely? Oh, that's nice. It better be one hell of an offer, and it better not be a total value of $1 billion. Now, ultimately, what you have to understand, the board would vote to recommend, if such an offer would come forward, the board would have to recommend to the shareholders, do we take it? Do we not? The shareholders would ultimately have to vote. The shareholders could simply say no. And hopefully somebody else out there, another private equity group or a collection of private equity groups, will come in and make a better offer, because I don't think that Tencent, as in China, is going to do any better. In fact, some out there might make the argument that Tencent and China have, or could have potentially, played a part in the ruin of this company to scoop it up for cheap. Because Tencent, well, let's just say they own a number of other video game manufacturers as well, or at least have a serious controlling interest in them, or a major stockholder. This is an interesting one, kids. It's amazing. And I'll tell you this. I don't think Assassin's Creed delays are over. I think that February 15th, or whatever the hell the next date is, that February 2025 that they pushed it back to, I think very well could come and go, and we still won't have Assassin's Creed Shadows out. And Ghosts of Tsushima, the sequel to that game, Ghosts of Yote, seems like that may also be getting pushed back, which was going to be released around the same time, February, March of next year. That may open a window for Ubisoft to push back as well. Or maybe they would still want to try to stick the window. But this isn't over yet, kids. I get a rough feeling on this one. This has been one hell of a story, but that is this article today, or Friday, rather. This was from Reuters, originally reported by Bloomberg. Yeah. Now, maybe, to be fair, the Guillemot family might think that by taking it private, that they can correct a lot of the issues that maybe they feel like they've been unable to correct at this point by removing some of the cultural cancer that's clearly infested this company at just an enormous rate. Maybe they really have good intentions. I don't know. But this right now, doesn't really look good. I'd have questions. And ultimately, whatever happens with this, especially if foreign entities like Tencent are involved, I imagine that French regulators will probably have some say in this. Or EU regulators, maybe. I don't even know if the French have control of anything now without first bending the knee to Belgium. Make sure you're subscribed to Valiant Renegade and join us every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern for the live show.